Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to another Raw Meets interview. Now, we are all always incredibly lucky with who we have, but today another amazing interview with the incredible Olivia Edwards, who you can see in the screen there. Now, Olivia works as a growth mindset coach, which basically means that she is helping people in all walks of life to really discover their strengths, to create a better work-life balance, to really help them with motivation, with confidence, so that they can basically be their best selves and create the best life for themselves, which utilizes all of that. She's got a very strong background in psychology, which has, I think you've used that a lot in your growth mindset coaching, Olivia. And also a qualified happiness coach, which I think probably all falls under the same umbrella. Olivia's also got a private group for mums called Your Attitude is Your Superpower, which is incredible. Loads of amazing advice on there for mums with obviously how to care for their children, but also how to, just as importantly, how to care for themselves. So we have Olivia with us today to answer some questions all about growth mindset for you guys, the parents and adults, and also focusing on children as well. So going to hand over to Naomi for the first question.
Okay, so first question is, we come across a lot of mum guilt in our work, usually because their time is so limited. What is the best way they can factor in some self-care time and, most importantly, not feel guilty?
Yeah, so morning everybody, and thank you so much, Sam and Amy, for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, that's a massive one and something I work a lot on with mums, and as part of the growth mindset I really talk about it being a self-care mindset. And I think the number one thing is you have to learn to accept self-care as being necessary. Because there's kind of, it's like almost ingrained in British culture that you, usually a parent especially, and a mum even more so, that you kind of go to the bottom of the pile. And so we just feel like that's the way it should be, but actually it's so important, especially if you're the person giving so much to other people, that you are prioritizing that time for you. Because if you're not, it's not going to be sustainable and you're going to end up getting burnout. And part of doing that is really reframing those thoughts around, oh, you know, I have to put these children first, or my husband first, or my partner, or, you know, whatever, because that's when the guilt comes in. So as much as you can try to find that time for you, again, whatever that might be for you, as you said there, then people are beating themselves up about it afterwards because they haven't changed their mindset. So it's just about taking stepping stones. You're not going to wake up one morning and suddenly you've got a self-care mindset. It's all about just working towards progress. So being realistic with yourself and maybe just looking at your week. I know mums are constantly organising things and changing stuff and adapting. So just look at what you've got that's non-negotiable in your week that you have to do, and then factor time around that for you. Things that are going to lift your energy, lift your mood, which will be really different depending on if you're an introvert or an extrovert and what your interests are. So be really aware of that as well. And even if it's just kind of 5 or 10 minutes a day, it's really key that you're making sure that you are boosting your energy. And the more often you can do it, you will build it as a habit. And then it won't require as much energy to think about it. It'll just become normal. And, you know, your children and other people in your family around you will just know, oh, this is mum's time, or mum's going to do this, you know, whether it's a walk in nature just for you, so you're not having to pack everything that kids need and think about taking bikes and scooters, and, you know, you're sort of taking in the environment, but you're concentrating on, are they safe, are they doing this child needs a snack, and, you know, not really in the moment at all, because you're just thinking about them. But yeah, whatever self-care means for you, just try and do it consistently. And if you find that you are starting to get those feelings of guilt, just try and reframe those thoughts, because it'll happen, because, you know, it is a mindset shift. So it still happens to me even, because it's that kind of part of your brain that's habitually learned it over however old you are, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So it's saying, actually, you know, this is necessary for me. In order for me to give to others, I need to keep myself full. I need to have those energy sources. And so I'm investing in me so I can invest in my family. And if you can reframe your thoughts like that, it does get easier. But the important thing is you just start.
Just do something.
Just work on your mindset alongside it. And as I say, it will become habit. And, you know, if you can commit to that, actually, for 3 months, the science says do it for 21 days and you'll introduce a habit. Do it for 90 days and it'll become automatic. Just like if you're driving your car, if you're doing the same route every single day for 3 months, I guarantee you'll end up getting from A to B and you'll think, oh, I'm not sure how I got here. You got there safely because your brain just has managed to strengthen that as a habit and it's become automatic. So it's the exact same principle. So the more you can do it, the easier it gets over time. The more it's in your routine and the better you're going to feel, and the more you're going to be able to give. So it really is a win-win. It's just starting.
Ooh, I like it.
Amazing. Thank you.
Exciting.
Right, question 2. One of the central themes in our book and our online course for tweens is self-love. So teaching children how to put quality time aside for themselves. We feel really passionate about this. So for you, Olivia, how important do you feel it is to try and foster this mindset in children?
So important, especially with everything happening at the moment, because, you know, a lot of families are feeling like they have this lack of control because so much has changed for them recently that no one could envisage happening at all. And the immediate response to that is obviously, oh, now we need to try and control everything we can. And you kind of can forget to be in the moment and forget to take that step back and really reflect on you. It kind of links into the last question, because if you want your children to do anything, you have to do it yourself. You have to be role modeling to your children positively and proactively, because you can say whatever you want to your children, but they will do what you do and not what you say. As I said, we're creatures of habit, and that is what we do. So a lot of people are visual learners as well, and kinetic learners, and if they can learn from you doing something, it's more likely to go into their brain. So number one thing is, it's vital for children to have this time for self-love, so you need to be modeling it as well. And then they're going to grow up knowing that that's something we do. So number one, that is key. It also will really help them with their self-regulation, which is massive, because it feeds into, you know, their emotional intelligence, their self-awareness. And the more aware you are of yourself, that's how you're going to get increased confidence, increased resilience. You're going to become more independent. And there's so much pressure on children, especially tweens at the moment. And it's kind of teasing that out and knowing that if you can help them to have that self-awareness and, you know, give that energy to themselves, know what they need to do in order to stay strong and motivated and equipped for everything, that's kind of your job done as a parent, because you know that whatever comes their way, they can be flexible, they can adapt. And it's about having that kind of open, honest connection with them to say, you know, it's really important that you prioritize yourself. Again, feeding into that British culture, it's that whole thing about, you know, when you're in a relationship with someone or in a friendship with someone, you know, you have to constantly be putting their needs first, which is amazing that you're thinking of others, but again, you need to think about your own needs and consider what works for you and your well-being. And if something doesn't work, being okay saying no as well. I think, you know, we should be able to teach our children that if they really don't want to do something, it's okay for them to say no. Obviously in a polite way. And you know, in a way we're not going to offend people, but to recognize that if something's going to make them feel uncomfortable, that for now, you know, not yet is a good answer. And actually learning about working towards doing something like that, so they feel like they can take control over their own space and their own bodies and their own minds. And I know you guys are really big on empowering children, and that's massively going to have an impact in helping them to be empowered. And as I said, it's just going to increase things like their confidence, their resilience. So and as well, I think as a parent, making sure that you can have compassion and understanding around that. So if you know that your child's struggling, or they might need a bit of extra time that week for self-love, trying to factor that in. And again, not doing it in a way where maybe they're going to feel bad about it, and not making like a really big deal about it, but just kind of recognizing, this week's been really tough. Is there anything that you want to do at the weekend? And, maybe they can plan that whole morning, so that they're able to feel like they've got a sense of control over that you're trusting them and respecting what they like and what they might need at that point. And that's going to work a lot better than if the child and you are kind of like fighting against each other in this sort of power struggle, which you don't want to do with a toddler, never mind a tween. As much as you can keep them on side. And I think it's about that respect, isn't it? And trusting each other, and letting them know that you do trust them to know themselves and what's good for them, and that they trust that you have knowledge and expertise in that as well. And if you can come at that from the same page, you're onto a winner there. You just don't want to end up in that battle of wills.
It's funny, isn't it, this whole concept of giving to others, which, like you said, Olivia, is absolutely amazing. But if you haven't given to yourself first, the giving to the others has this sort of background of resentment behind it. Whereas if you give to yourself first, that the act of then giving to another comes with much more love, and it's a much more authentic giving. It's more genuine, isn't it? Whereas if you're constantly giving out, and you've completely neglected yourself, it isn't quite as authentic when you're then
and I think that raises a really important point again for tweens, in that if they're used to seeing adults around them, especially females, older sisters and mums, because it's traditionally been their role to be the givers, constantly giving, you can kind of risk that they grow up with this idea that everything about their self-value and self-worth is taken from what they can give to others. And then you get people that are like super givers, and they'll go above and beyond to say yes to people and to do things because they're feeding their own self-value and self-worth, which actually, when you peel it back and look at it, can be really damaging to people, because then if someone says no to them, or that you've done something for them, they don't like it, which they're completely entitled to say, oh, actually, could you change that, or that wasn't how I imagined it. You take it so personally, and it can be really damaging to how you view and value yourself. Whereas if you can put yourself first and think, actually, I just need to concentrate on me being full, me being energized, knowing what I want and need, and now I am in a place of abundance where I can give to others, you're not placing that self-worth on what you're giving. You're giving it, like you say, authentically, because you want to help them, not because in some way you want the kind of like validity and valuation of your own self-worth.
Good point. I read an article the other day, not sure where, but it was talking about this idea of parents forcing children to give auntie a kiss, give uncle a hug, go on and kiss that person and hug that person. And it really is one of my pet hates, this you have to sacrifice your own boundaries, your own security bubble. You have to step out of that in order to do what looks socially acceptable. And actually, you might not want to kiss auntie and hug uncle. You might not have seen them for months. You might not really know them, but because the adults around them are thinking, I don't want my child to appear rude, they've got to do, carry this act out. It's really quite damaging, isn't it? So Olivia, what you were saying before about recognizing that your child has had a tough week, a week of giving, a week of conforming. Actually, what do you want to do on the weekends? What's right for you on this particular day? Really important.
And I think with that, especially for young children, when they don't necessarily have their own voice, if you're especially a primary caregiver, you obviously know your child quite well, you can read their signs. So when it comes to things like that, knowing that if someone's going to kind of give your child a hug or a kiss, because they're doing it from a nice loving place, because they obviously, especially they're not seeing them for a while, if your child's kind of uncomfortable and pulling away, knowing that it's really your role to step up there as their voice and say, oh, actually, I think they just need a moment to themselves. I think they're just appreciating their own space right now. So that you're not kind of offending the other person, because obviously you don't really want them to feel bad about it. You're empowering your child and letting them know, look, mummy understands that you need your own space right now, and you can't say that, you can't verbalize that, so I'm going to do that for you. That's a much more empowering message. Again, especially for girls, because of society, it's kind of boys can say no and that's okay, and for girls less so, they have to conform and be polite. So if your daughters especially can grow up knowing that, you know, I do have a voice and it matters and it's okay for me to say no, again, that's a really powerful message. And, you know, kids will do that because they're learning about themselves. They want independence. And you'll probably find that when you initially meet with someone, they don't want that because it's taken them a while to warm up and have their own space. And by the time you leave, they'll be all over them. Yeah. So, you know, it's not a case of, I just don't want them near me. It's, hold on a minute, I need that time to, you know, recognise my own space. And now when I'm open to you, we can then have that hug or kiss or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, we could go on for hours today, ladies.
I know. I'm just like, gosh, don't stop. I'm too busy enjoying this.
I know.
Rocking away, going, oh, okay.
Yeah, I could talk about it all morning. How long have you got?
Because Naomi, you work with a lot of nonverbal children, don't you? So it's your job as well to really read body language, what's okay, what's not okay, what's an invasion, what they're ready for. So you really understand nonverbal communication, you know, with the children that you work with.
And also there is just, for me, from my experiences working with the family and the children and things like that, it's, first of all, I say to parents, I give you complete permission, scrap Christmas. It is the bane of my life. And not only that, it now starts in September. And I'm like, whoa, we've just done school transition. Now I've got to start prepping for Christmas. Just Santa Claus comes on the 25th, not the 1st of September. And also just to say, you don't have to do the big family gatherings, and the children, if they don't want to, they can go to their dens and spend half the day in their den and then come and join you when they feel ready. It's okay for them to have that independence. And not be that your little shadow, and it doesn't mean that you're parenting wrong. It means actually you're respecting the child as their individual and their needs, and saying, but at points you come and join in, but when you feel like you can. So there are a lot of things that I see that I think actually you can just give yourself permission to, there's no manual for this, and it's okay if your path isn't the M6 path well every other parent in this world is looking like they're doing, and that you can go the road less traveled, basically, and that actually you'll find there's more people doing that road than you first realized.
Good.
Time as well. I've learned, having 2 very small children, that if I'm clock watching all day, or, you know, kind of, you end up herding. I'm not in the moment, I'm not enjoying it, I'm just herding one activity to the next because I'm watching my clock. Whereas if we can just go out and I think, okay, at some point this afternoon I need to get back home for, you know, bedtime, then we have such a better day, and the kids are so relaxed and they want to explore, and they are learning all those key skills because I'm giving them the space when they can do that. And kids don't have a concept of time, you know, it's great, they're free, just go with it. You don't want to put that stress on them. Wait until they're adults and they have to deal with that. You know, and like you were saying about Christmas, you just do it because that's what's done. And actually, you know, that's not what kids want to do. It's probably not what you want to do. You know, what's to be stressed on Christmas. You know, if you stay in your jammies all day and you open one present, you know, who cares? Just have fun and enjoy the moment.
Absolutely.
Good.
Right, question number 3. We feel it's really important to set time aside each day or week to do something to work towards your goals. What 3 main factors in a person's life may affect their ability to do so?
Okay, so it is very important. Again, it kind of links into that habit, and, you know, if you can do something regularly, it's just a lot easier to factor in, and everyone can accept that as routine. And we are creatures of habit and routine. So I think it is really important, but, you know, especially these days, and again, mums in particular have got so many roles and responsibilities, just finding time to do everything and anything, especially again when it comes to them, if they've put themselves at the bottom of the pile, it is really difficult. But to stay focused, you really need to have clarity over what you want. So whether it's you know, parenting goals, personal goals, business or career related goals, whatever it might be, you have to be really clear on exactly what you want. I do actually have as part of my service, specific goal setting sessions, and they are 2.5 hours, which sometimes people are like, well, that's a long time. And I just think that it's so important that you go away from this with absolute clarity and connection to what you want. And I think, like you were just saying, people look at other families and other people, and it's through rose tinted glasses and social media, and it's not realistic, and you kind of get this I don't know, you can almost get into this cycle of, right, I need this as my goal, and I need this as my goal, and I need to take the kids to Disney, and I want to do this because that's just what everyone does.
Yeah.
But, you know, if that's not something that you actually want, or that your kids actually want, then there's no point in having that as a goal, because you're never going to be focused towards meeting it, because you don't connect with it, and, you know, you've not really got clarity around it, because when you're visualizing how you want to live your life, it doesn't really factor in, you're doing it for other people.
Yeah.
So the number one thing is definitely clarity. So taking time out to think about, okay, what do I actually want? Whether that's, you know, between now and the end of the year, or for the next 6 months, or the next year's time, you know, depending on what kind of area your goals are in, and if they are parenting related, they will probably change quite a lot, because children change a lot because of their development and everything else. So really dedicate some time out to get clear on that, and it's okay if that changes. It's absolutely okay if you take some time out 1 month and think, right, these are my goals, and then in a month's time they've changed, because life changes and things are different. But it's better you acknowledge that than you keep pushing your previous goals because you're not connected to them. So number one, definitely clarity. And then also you need to look at your motivation. So like I was saying before, if all your motivation towards goals is coming from external things, because you just think you need to be having that as a goal, you're never going to be motivated to do it. And on those days where it's really hard, you're just going to think, oh, I can't be bothered. Because you don't have any burning internal desire to do it. So, you know, you're not going to. You're going to prioritize what I have to do.
Yeah. So
when you kind of got clarity over where you think you want to go and what you think your goals might be, really look at why you've got that as a goal.
Yeah.
So a really key exercise I do with mums is write down a goal that you feel like is a clear goal to you, and try and be quite specific, you know, because the more specific you can be, the more connected you're going to be to it. And then really ask yourself, why do I want that as a goal? And when you've asked yourself that, right underneath what you've written as the goal as your reason why, and look at what you've written and say, right, but why is that important to me? And you just keep going, and you'll get to a level where you'll feel it. You'll get to a point where you'll write something and you'll say something, and you can almost feel it in your stomach, in your heart, wherever you feel, you know, intense emotion, and it'll get you, and you'll think, right, that's why I'm doing this. And that is what your internal intrinsic motivation is. So on those times when, you know, you've had a tough week, you're not getting enough sleep, you know, you've got deadlines, there's things you need to do, your kids are just going back to school and they're feeling a bit anxious, so you're feeling anxious, and now you've got a phone call from the nursery because someone's got COVID and they might have to close the COVID room or whatever, and you're just thinking, oh, I can't do it this week, I just need to survive. You need to think about, why am I doing this? And it'll just flick a switch, your mindset will be back on, and you'll think, right, even if all I can do this week is 10 minutes towards that goal, is 10 minutes of progress. And that'll keep you focused. So looking at your clarity, making sure you're really intrinsically and emotionally motivated to something, because that's what's going to connect you. And then thirdly, making sure that you're accountable. So this is a tough one, because I completely recognise that not everyone is going to have a coach and have someone that's there to say to them, right, you know, these are your goals, how are you getting on with them, blah blah. And sometimes it doesn't work to have people we're close to helping to keep us accountable. So, you know, it might not work to have your partner or your best friend or your mum or someone, because there's a lot involved there emotionally already, and you don't want to get into oh, you're on at me for doing this and I haven't had time, and just give me a break, because you know, you want to come at it from a sense of support, not, okay, we're just falling apart right now. So it might be a good idea, if you're part of like mums networking groups or things like that, try and make yourself accountable by throwing it out there. You know, this is my goal for the next few months. Does anyone else have any goals? Why don't you get like a little group together, and then you can just check in with each other. It doesn't take long. It could just be, you know, a couple of minutes a week, just on WhatsApp or Messenger or whatever it is. How are you getting on with your goal? And it can be nice as well, because it's real. And if there's other people struggling and you're struggling, you can talk about that. You know, people aren't going to just have a goal, stay connected to it and achieve it, and that's it, they're off. Because again, life happens, especially if you're a parent, because there is so much happening. So it can be quite nice to have that support group. Obviously having a coach or someone like that is going to be a lot more direct, but you know, we have to be realistic, and not everyone is going to have the opportunity for that all of the time. But if there's someone where you can have that accountability, or you throw something out there to hold yourself accountable, you know, write it in a diary, write it down, so that you've got a goal written down, it's holding you accountable. Try and put a specific time frame on a goal, rather than it just being this never-ending goal, because then you've got that additional deadline to help make you accountable. So if you're kind of halfway towards that, check in with yourself and say, oh, you know, how am I getting on with that? Otherwise it's just kind of like a wishy-washy concept that will happen at some point. So I think they're the top 3 things really. So make sure you're clear on what you want, and gain clarity so you can be focused. Really work on your motivation and why you're motivated towards that. And if you're struggling with that, then it's probably not the goal for you. You know, if you're not internally motivated for something, you're having that goal for external reasons. And so maybe you need to reflect on that and think, actually, I don't know if this is what I want right now. And focus it, swap it on something else. And then try and keep yourself accountable, whether that's a coach or a support network, or whether you know, you're writing it down to try and keep yourself accountable, and just, you know, being easy on yourself as well, and knowing that if you haven't reached a goal, it's not the end of the world. You know, it's still a goal, or you know, if your goal changes, that's okay. Go with it, be realistic, be compassionate with yourself, but as long as you've got a goal that you're working towards at some point, and you're connected to it, you will achieve it in your own time.
Amazing. And it's like tutoring yourself to become your own coach, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And having those conversations with yourself. I do that a lot. How are you doing today? Are you working on your list?
But then, you know, that's your self-awareness and your self-regulation, all those things that we said you know you want to help your tweens do. You know, if you're doing it as well, and they're going to grow up with those skills too, it just makes life a lot easier for them, because if you're more aware of yourself and able to regulate yourself and hold yourself accountable, you are going to be more likely to succeed.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, final question. So we feel that we live in a society of instant gratification, and that this is affecting how much a person is prepared to wait for their goals and dreams. So what are your top 3 pieces of advice to encourage someone who is feeling frustrated because they can't yet see results to changes they have put in place?
Can I just say, I am like the number 1 person that needs to listen to this right now. Samantha knows me so well. She's just like, Naomi, just be patient. I'm like, yeah, but it should be here today. So go for it. I'm all ears. I'm listening.
All ears.
I think as well, when you're really passionate about something, it can be really difficult to wait, because you know that when you get there, it's going to be really exciting and it's what you've worked towards, so you're just like, come on.
I literally am like kid on Christmas Day. Want to feel it.
You know, see that as a good thing and be like, okay, so this is something I want, because I'm very passionate about it. And when it happens, it will be amazing. So I think you need to trust that it's going to happen, because we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves that we're not going to get there, and then that makes us feel like we need to get there now because we need to prove it to ourselves that it's going to happen. So my number 1 thing is just trust the process. Trust that it's going to happen. If you have got a goal and you're committed to it, and you are putting the time in, you're building it up as a habit, you're connected to it, it is going to happen. That there is no way it's not going to happen. It might not happen next week, but it's going to happen. And when it does happen, that's the right time for it to happen for you. So definitely just trusting the process. And that's a massive thing around growth mindset, because it's all about having faith in the process rather than the end result. So again, as much as you can kind of do that with your children as well, being really conscious of what you're saying to your children in terms of encouraging them, when you're using praise and encouragement, encourage the process and the effort, not the end result, because you're teaching them that, you know, it's okay to work towards things, and effort is a step to mastery. It's not a sign of weakness. You know, we don't all suddenly be born amazing at everything. We have to learn things to be good at them. We have to make mistakes. And a great way to learn that as an adult is to support children in that, because it's a constant reminder that, okay, you know, I've tried to do this and it's not worked. I'm not a terrible person. You know, I just need to learn from where I've gone wrong and adapt it for next time. And if you can just trust that process and actually know that you're going to get there, it will happen. I 100% guarantee that. And if it's not happening, there's a part of that process that you're not connected to, whether that's that, you know, that goal isn't the right goal for you, or you need to work on your motivation, because at some point you're blocking yourself from achieving it. So that's what you need to explore. But if you're super passionate, which I can tell that you are, it will happen. It will happen. I think
the bouncing on the ball gets more exaggerated, the more excited. So
yeah, because you are passionate. So I would honestly see that as a good thing, and I would just say to yourself, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And you know, if you struggle with that, trust as well, visualize it happening. So visualization is a really big thing. I'm really into all stuff like that. I'm very aware that not everyone is, and you know, I try not to go into it too much. But if you struggle with believing that it's going to happen, just visualize it happening. And I mean, really visualize it happening. Not, oh, I hope this will happen one day. Say it to yourself, it's happening. Visualize the exact environment it's happening in, and use that as your focus. Like, pour your passion and your energy into that. And it will happen.
That is giving me goosebumps.
The second thing is to celebrate all of the small things, because you know, like you're saying, we're in this kind of society of instant gratification. Bigger is better, and we have to be bigger than the next person, and it's not, because a win is a win. You know, if your win that day was that you managed to have a shower and wash your hair and no one died, like, that's a win. You know, some days I have my children, well, a lot of days by myself, and you know, they're not going to nap exactly when I want them to nap, because that's when I want to wash my hair. So I have to think about, okay, I really need to wash my hair today because there's only so much dry shampoo a woman can take. So I have to make sure that they're safe and everything. And if I've got in and out of that shower in one piece and my hair is washed, I am celebrating. That is a big deal. So I think it's having that ability to know it's okay to celebrate those small things, and don't feel bad about that. You know, I'm not saying every single day put it all over your social media how amazing your life is, because you know, you're going to annoy people. But definitely celebrate those small things, and don't think they're not worth celebrating, because they are. You know, sometimes when I work with mums, I say, especially if they're list people, right, when you write your list for today of what you're going to do, I want you to put making your bed at the top. And they're like, what do you mean? Of course I'm going to make my bed. And I'm like, yeah, I know you are, and that's why it's going to go at the top, because number one, you're going to do it. Not only do you feel ready for the day because you've made your bed, so you've got a clear space, but you've ticked something off. So you're automatically going into your day from a positive mindset, because you've done something. You feel like you've accomplished something. So if you can celebrate those small things, even if, you know, you didn't do all the small things you wanted, or, you know, this one big thing you've not been able to do, but you've done 10 small things, why would you feel bad? All these things, like, let's focus on what we have done, and feel good about that. So definitely celebrate the small things. And then, you know, back to that connection. So just making sure that you are really connected to your goals, because sometimes we can kind of kid ourselves that something's what we want, and then it's not happening. It's not happening for a reason, because that's not actually meant for you. You just feel like it is, but you know, that might not really be truly aligned with what you want from life. You just feel like you have to want that. So, you know, oh, I'm going to take my kids to Disney one day. Oh, it's not happening. And then you end up beating yourself up and making yourself feel bad about it not happening, but you probably don't even want it to happen. So it's making sure that, you know, what your goals and what you think you want are what you want. And then trusting in that process, and celebrating all those small things along the way. And if you've got quite a big goal, break it down. So this is my big goal for 5 years time, or this time next year, or whenever it is. To meet that goal, these are my stepping stones. So I want to be able to earn this amount. I want to be able to get this part-time work, because in the long run I want a full-time job. So let's not just go straight away for a full-time job, let's go for this part-time job first, or let's do some volunteering. Or, you know, I'd really like my children to get into this amazing school. Okay, so what do we need to do in order for that to happen? Like, what are the stepping stones? Because then you're celebrating those small things, and it's keeping you focused on that process of getting there, rather than that massive end goal at the end. And if it doesn't happen in your set time frame, it's really not the end of the world. If you're truly trusting in that process, then you can let yourself know, okay, it's not happened in this time frame, and that's for a reason. So do I need to change my goal? Do I need to look at other options? Sometimes the best things that happen to us are the worst things that have happened to us. Because at the time you just feel like your whole world's falling apart and this is awful. And there's this something someone said to me once, which was you have to look for the message in the mess, which I absolutely love. And you know, yes, at that time it feels terrible, and of course allow yourself to have those emotions, but just know that there's something better for you. You just have to trust that there's something better, and that you're going to learn things from that, and it's going to teach you things that you'll go on to be a better and a stronger you. And it's just having that, I think, ultimate trust in yourself, and your own purpose, I guess, that will make you feel a lot better about not getting those instant rewards. But I mean, if you're someone that gets a kick out of instant rewards, then you write that to-do list that says, you know, make bed, brush teeth. Do what you've got to do to give yourself that boost where you think, yeah, I've really accomplished something this morning. I've had my breakfast, I've brushed my teeth, I've got dressed, this is great. You know, do that. That's what's good for you.
I literally I lay out the tea bags for every bit I succeed on my job list. I'm like, oh, I can have another cup of tea.
And that's it, like set yourself those small rewards, you know. I have someone else, when I first started out, my coach, as I had coaching as well, when she achieved what she wanted for that week, she bought herself a bunch of flowers, just like, you know, a fiver from Tesco or whatever. So that she had flowers that she was like, yeah, I've done this, I've done what I said I was going to do, I'm going to treat myself to some flowers. And then, you know, it's a nice little picnic. Every time she saw them, she was like, yeah, still doing what I was doing. You know,
ladies, Zoom is counting us down our final minute now. So absolutely massive thank you from us, Olivia, for coming on and sharing all of your wisdom with us today. I just know that this video is going to reach a lot of people and give a lot of valuable insight into just shifting their mindset. So massive thank you from us. That will definitely help people to raise warriors, which is
amazing. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's brilliant to be here, and I feel very privileged, so thank you very much.
No, that's great. Amazing. Thank you so much, and take good care. Bye from us.
Bye.